at the end of a day, the storekeeper had $1,284 in the cash register, counting both the sale of goods and the sales tax of 7%. Find the amount that is tax and round that to the nearest dollar if necessary. All right, so what do we know and what is unknown here? Well, we know that there's a total of $1,284 that was collected. And now that $1,284, that is made up of two things: the sale of the goods and the sales tax. So part of this, probably most of this, is coming from sales. And then part of it is also coming from the tax. And we don't know how much was sales. We don't know how much was tax, but we do know that the tax is 7% of the sales. All right, so since we have two unknowns here, let's give them both symbols and let's introduce the variables. So let's say sales and tax. So these are the two unknowns that we have to work with. And if we call X, let's say sales will be X, well then what's the relationship between the amount of sales and the amount of tax? Well, the sales tax is 7% of the sales. So we could say tax is 7% of the sales. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, 7%, that's 0.07 when we convert that to a decimal of, well, that's multiplication, and the sales, the amount of sales. That we don't know, that we're calling X. So the amount of tax is 0.07 times X. So let's put that up here, 0.07X. Okay, so now we've represented the unknowns both using the variable X. All right, so now we need an equation that represents this problem. Well, let's use what I have over here in blue on the right. Well, the total amount collected, say total collected, is comprised of two things. It's the sales plus the sales tax. All right, so let's put that into an equation. The total amount collected, $1,284, is equal to the sales, which is X, plus the sales tax, which is 0.07X. All right, so now we have an equation. Now we've basically taken the words out of the word problem, and we have an equation that's basically saying the same thing in the language of mathematics instead of the language of English. All right, so let me erase this so we have some room. All right, so we basically, on the right-hand side, we have two like terms, two terms that both have X, and just like if we had, 2X plus 3X, we would say, well, that's equal to 5X. Well, here we have 1X plus 0.07X. So just like down here, we would add the 2 and the 3. Up here, we add the 1, because that's 1X, and the 0.07. Okay, so we get 1,284 is equal to 1.07X. Right, so we have to solve for X, and on the right hand side we have 1.07 times X, so the opposite of times is divide. So let's divide by 1.07, so that will cancel off the 1.07. So whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay, so on the right hand side of the equation we have simply X, and on the left, well, this is a job for the calculator, and if you take out a calculator and do 1,284 divided by 1.07, you will get exactly 1,200. So now we could erase these question marks. And we know that the amount of sales is 1,200. And if the total is 1,284, and if 1,200 is on the sales side of things, then the tax must be the other $84. So we could say $84 in sales tax, and that answers the question. Remember, the last piece of information we're given is find the amount of the tax, and so we're given the percentage of the tax, but we've now found the dollar amount of the tax. All right, so number 4. CopyMart charges $25 plus 46 cents per copy to produce promotional brochures. How many brochures could Steve purchase if he has a budget of $77.90? Well, here's our question. How many brochures can Steve purchase? So let's say X equals number of brochures. Okay, and that's what we're looking for. So now let's look at the total charges. So let's put this in words before we use an equation. So let's say the total charge, or the total cost, is equal to, well, what do you have to pay? You have to pay $25 plus the cost of the copies. Or the cost of the brochures. Now, we're given that he has a budget of $77.90. So that could be the most that he could pay. So that's the total charge. That's the $77.90, and that's equal to $25 plus the cost of the brochures. And the cost of the brochures is 46 cents per copy, or 46 cents times the number of copies. And the number of copies is X. So we multiply. Per, in this case, means multiply. But we can't use the number 46, because if the number 25 means $25, if I were to write 46X here, this would mean $46 per copy, or $46 times the number of copies. So if the 25 is in dollars, well, the 46 has to also be in dollars. So 46 cents is equal to $0.46. Okay, so let's replace that with 0.46x. All right, so there's our equation. 77.90 equals 25 plus 0.046x. And we have to solve for x, so we have to get rid of the 25 and get rid of the 0.46. Well, let's deal with the 25 first. This is positive 25. Opposite of positive 25 is negative 25. So let's subtract 25 from both sides. So the positive 25, the negative 25, they cancel. And on the right-hand side, we have 0.46x. That's what we're left with. And on the right, 77.90. If we subtract 25, we get 59.90. Oh, sorry, 52. Sorry, 52.90. Sorry about that. All right, so now solving for x. On the right-hand side, we have 0.46 times x. Again, opposite of times is divide. So divide both sides by 0.46. And the times and divide by 0.46, they'll cancel. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And this is a task for the calculator. 52.90 divided by 0.46. According to the calculator, we will get exactly 115. And in this case, X is what we're looking for. The question is, how many can he make? How many brochures can he make? Well, the answer is 115 brochures. All right, let's do one more in this video. So these three questions are different in terms of the specifics, but in terms of how we solve them, we're taking the same general approach to word problems. Identify what's unknown, give it a symbol, translate the words into an equation, and solve your equation. So Bill needs an average of 75 on 4 tests in science to make the honor roll. What is the lowest score he could receive on the 4th test if his first 3 scores are 61, 83, and 95? Now, what are we looking for here? What is the lowest score on the 4th test? Okay, so that's unknown. So we know 3 of the scores, and the 4th one is unknown, and let's let X represent that unknown. X equals the 4th test score. Now, what do we know about this word? Average. How do you find the average of 4 numbers? You have the average of 4 tests. Well, to find the average of 4 numbers, you have to add them up and divide by 4. We could say the average grade, in this case, is equal to the sum of the 4 scores divided by 4. That's how average works. You add up all the numbers and divide by how many numbers there are. In this case, there's 4 numbers. So you add them up and divide by 4. All right, so what do we know? We know the average score is 75. The average grade is 75. So on the left, we can put a 75. On the right, sum of the 4 scores. Add up the 4 scores. Well, what are the 4 scores? There's a 61. There's an 83. There's a 95. And that 4th score is unknown. We're calling that X for now. So we take those 4 test scores, add them up, and divide by 4. All right, so now we have to solve for X. And before, as always, before we start moving numbers around from side to side or eliminating numbers, let's see if we could simplify first. And it looks like we have a number, we have a number, and we have a number. So let's combine those 3 like terms. All right, so we have 75 equals, well, 61 plus 83 plus 95, that is 239. We still have the plus X, and we still have the divide by 4. All right, so now solve for X. Now we have a 239 and a 4 on the right-hand side. So we could get rid of the divide by 4 by multiplying by 4. And whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. All right, so on the right-hand side, the times 4 and the divide by 4, they'll cancel. So on the right, we have a 239 plus X. We've eliminated the denominator. And on the right, we have 4 times 75, which gives us 300. All right, one thing to do, get rid of the 239 on the right. So this is a positive 239. Let's bring in the opposite of that. Subtract 239. And whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So the positive 239, the negative 239, they cancel. On the right, we are left with x. And on the left-hand side, 300 minus 239 will give us a 61. And that's telling us that the lowest score he could get on test number 4 is a 61%. And you could check this, of course. You could take now we know all 4 scores, 61, 83, 95, and another 61. You could add those up, divide by 4, and you will get 75. And you could use that just to check your work. All right, so that is it for this video.